Vietnam War True Stories: The Engineers Who Built the War. The Vietnam War was not fought only by infantrymen, pilots, artillery crews, and helicopter units. Behind nearly every operation stood another group of soldiers whose work shaped the battlefield before many others arrived. They were the Army engineers. In Vietnam, engineers built the physical foundation of the war. They cleared jungle, carved roads through dangerous terrain, constructed airfields, raised bridges, opened ports, built base camps, repaired damaged routes, and kept supplies moving through a country where the environment itself often seemed like an enemy. Much of South Vietnam's terrain made movement difficult. Dense jungle, mountains, flooded lowlands, rice paddies, rivers, and monsoon mud could slow vehicles and isolate entire units. A road that looked usable in dry weather could become nearly impassable after heavy rain. For combat forces to operate, engineers had to go first. They used bulldozers, graders, cranes, dump trucks, explosives, chainsaws, and heavy equipment to transform remote ground into something the military could use. Jungle was cut back. Landing zones were cleared. Hillsides were leveled. Runways and helicopter pads were built where none had existed before. Sometimes, an engineer unit might arrive in an area of thick vegetation and within days begin turning it into a fire support base, road junction, airstrip, or supply point. Their work was essential, but it was never safe. Engineers often operated in areas exposed to mines, snipers, mortars, ambushes, and booby traps. Road crews were especially vulnerable. They moved slowly and predictably, making them frequent targets for enemy forces. A mine hidden beneath a road could destroy a vehicle in seconds. A repair crew sent to fix the damage could be attacked again. Many engineers had to work with one eye on the job and the other on the tree line. Bridge builders faced similar danger. Rivers and canals were vital obstacles throughout Vietnam. If a bridge was destroyed, troops, ammunition, fuel, food, and medical evacuation could be delayed. Engineers had to repair or replace crossings quickly, often under pressure and sometimes under fire. Ports and airfields were just as important. As American involvement expanded, enormous amounts of equipment had to enter South Vietnam. Engineers helped construct and improve facilities that allowed ships, aircraft, trucks, and helicopters to move supplies across the country. Without that infrastructure, large-scale military operations would have been impossible to sustain. They also built base camps that became small cities of war. Barracks, bunkers, ammunition storage areas, hospitals, maintenance yards, fuel points, drainage systems, and defensive barriers all required engineer labor. Sandbags had to be filled. Concertina wire had to be placed. Perimeters had to be strengthened. Roads inside bases had to be maintained through rain, heat, and constant use. But engineers did not only build. They destroyed. Combat engineers cleared mines, blew bunkers, cut enemy tunnels, demolished obstacles, and opened paths through dense jungle. They carried explosives into dangerous areas and sometimes worked directly beside infantry units during combat operations. Mine clearing was among their most dangerous responsibilities. A soldier might move slowly along a road or trail, searching for disturbed earth, tripwires, pressure devices, or hidden explosives. One mistake could cost lives. Yet without that work, patrols, convoys, and supply columns could not move. In many cases, engineers became both builders and fighters. When convoys were ambushed, they returned fire. When bases were attacked, they manned defensive positions. When equipment broke down in exposed areas, they recovered it under threat. Their job title did not protect them from combat. The enemy understood the importance of engineer work. Roads, bridges, airfields, fuel points, and construction equipment were valuable targets. Destroying them slowed American and South Vietnamese operations. Killing or delaying engineers could stop an entire mission before it began. For this reason, the work was often repetitive, exhausting, and dangerous. A road cleared one day might be mined again the next. A bridge repaired after an attack might be damaged again weeks later. A base built from mud and jungle could require constant maintenance against rain, erosion, and enemy fire. Yet the engineers kept working. They built the roads that carried convoys. They cleared the landing zones that received helicopters. They created the airfields that launched aircraft. They repaired the bridges that kept units moving. They built the bases where thousands of soldiers lived, fought, and survived. Their story is sometimes hidden behind the larger battles. But every major operation depended on them. The infantry could not move far without roads, bridges, and landing zones. Aircraft needed runways and fuel. Artillery needed stable positions. Supplies needed ports and transportation routes. Wounded men needed evacuation paths. The engineers made those things possible. They did not always receive the same attention as the units fighting on the front lines, but their war was real. It was measured in mud, steel, explosives, sweat, danger, and the constant need to build faster than the enemy could destroy. The engineers who built the war helped shape the battlefield itself. And in Vietnam, that meant they were never far from the fight. If you have any photos, videos, or stories to share, please send us a message. And to all veterans, thank you for your service.